been a long time since I've worn robes like this, and what I'd forgotten about in those 23 years was, if like me, you spent most of your morning making sure that your hair was looking just perfect, the damage that one of these can do to your hair. So I'm going to leave that on now because I don't want you to see how much it's messed my hair up since. Thank you to the University of Warwick, to the graduands and graduates, now we have some of each, of 2025, for the honour of speaking at your ceremony. I loved to hear from the Vice-Chancellor earlier about the bar that we're now setting for what is a good score, because I believe he said right at the beginning that he gave you a pretty poor mark for 7 out of 10. Now, I don't do maths all the time, but the last time I checked, 7 out of 10 sounded like 70%, which I understand is round about a first. So congratulations on setting those expectations. Kudos to you. I've sat in the same seat as you too many years ago to recall now. Somewhere just in that corner over there. And I felt absolutely elated on that day, and it's lovely to hear and see your faces as you come up and listen to your family and friends celebrate in the way that they have. And the most exciting part of today for me is to congratulate you all on this momentous achievement of having graduated from this excellent university. Well done to you all. You are all here today because you've made a choice. You've chosen to be here, to give up your free time, to test your intellect, to challenge each other's logic and reason, and most importantly, to get things wrong and to go again. You've sacrificed your time, and for that, you have my admiration. Around a decade ago, I took my youngest son to a Rugby Development Academy introduction, expecting to hear some positive words of encouragement and maybe some praise for hitting that standard. That wasn't to be. The coach said, "I hear regularly from young people about what they want, about what their dream is, about what they'd really like. Frankly, I couldn't care less about what they want." I'm paraphrasing, by the way. That bit that sounded like I couldn't care less the language was slightly more agricultural than that, but I'm being polite today. He said, I couldn't care less about what they want. What I'd like to know is what they're willing to give up, to say no to sacrifice in order to attain their goal. As I said, you've all chosen to be here. And you've sacrificed your free time in order to do that. You've chosen to study at an institution that is world-renowned for quality teaching, for research, for academic output. And here you are as part of its 60th anniversary year. That choice in itself is smart, and for all of you, the start rather than the end of a journey. Probably a jumping off point for the future rather than its conclusion. So my first piece of advice, having sat exactly where you are, is to capitalize on that confidence, on that momentum that you feel today. Rarely in history has the world been more in need of smart people like yourselves to do brilliant things to advance the human cause. My first day at the University of Warwick, I still remember it keenly. It was in the business school, and it was the 11th of September 2001. This was a couple of weeks before the start of term, and I headed for the library with the aim of getting ahead on my rather large reading list. It was 3 hours after the event when I first saw that World Trade Centers 1 and 2 had fallen. And even then, it felt obvious that geopolitics in my lifetime would change profoundly. And yet, in the way that we do as humans, we got on with life. My MBA class was a highly intelligent and diverse group. there was only 50% of that cohort from Europe. And it gave me my first real understanding of how cultural norms can sometimes run into each other. That can be awkward and maybe uncomfortable at first. But we learned to work together and work each other out as our syndicate groups, as a cohort, and we became better and broader as a result. And we achieved our outcomes in accounting, in organizational behavior, in operations management, advanced issues in strategy, and financial modeling for business valuation. Right now, polarization and a lack of critical thinking feel like the greatest barriers that I experience daily to progress and problem solving. Now, my business school taught me the opposite of that. And that teaching still helps me overcome challenges and obstacles to this day. And so, to my second piece of advice, please take the skills that you have learned here, critical assessment, reasoned argument, broad-mindedness, and apply them to whatever it is that you're going to do next. You will be better for it, and so will the institutions in which you work. Now, as Piers mentioned, I've spent now 30 years in consumer-facing mass-market businesses. It's terrifying how quick that number goes up. It seems like no time ago that I was saying I've spent 25 years in... Anyway, so I'm going to move on. My time goes quickly. What I love about the businesses that I work in is I love the interaction with customers, how they tell you how they feel, both good and bad. And also how that you can see decisions that you make change the way those customers think about your company. And sometimes that happens in real time. Butlins is the first business I've been responsible for buying. It's the second one for which I've been CEO. I've been involved in 2 successful business sales after failing to sell 2 previously. I've worked under family ownership, private equity ownership, and PLC ownership. I've worked in 7 countries in roles as consultant and analyst, and also as line manager. I've worked for people I've liked very much. I've worked for people I've admired very much. Those 2 aren't always the same. I've worked for people I've found it tremendously difficult to build a relationship with. One person who was a complete genius, and another who almost certainly had narcissistic personality disorder. I didn't always know what I wanted to do. In fact, it took a long time before I did. I had what my professor Richard Whittington would have described as an emergent strategy towards my career. Many of you out here today may not know what you want to do. I think that's okay. Therefore, my final piece of advice has 2 parts. Firstly, do something you're really enthusiastic about, even if it's only for the short term. And secondly, don't waste a day. You don't need to have your life mapped out already. You just need to make sure you make use of your skills. Remember, you've sacrificed and given up things to be here today. So you already know what that involves. And if you feel you don't, as you've heard, you're part of an alumni network of nearly 300,000 people, many of whom have been where you are and can talk it through with you if you feel you need that. So, once again, my sincere congratulations and admiration to you as graduates and graduates of 2025. You've made the choice, the sacrifice to study, and you've succeeded in that. Now, please go and follow your enthusiasms and don't waste a day. Make the most of your future, because the world needs smart people like you. Thank you.